It's a great honor and a privilege to introduce Willie Lapidus, who was born in Boisk in Lita, in Latvia. And we're going to hear this phenomenal and very interesting and very important story, part of our history, part of Jewish history, the incredible journey of the Lapidus family, how they survived and how they came to South Africa and eventually to Israel. So it's a great honor and a privilege to be with you this evening, and I look forward to listening to part of Jewish history, part of your history and your family's history and part of our history.
Yeah.
So it's really we've just come out of Yom Kippur and a Shana Tova, and just health, mazel and bracha.
Yeah, that's what we.
Okay. Willie, can I ask, where were you born?
I was born in Boisk.
And do you remember the year?
1921.
1921. And you grew up in Boisk.
I grew up in Boisk.
And do you still remember the town? Do you remember the shtetl?
Yes, I remember. It was quite a big town.
And how old were you when you left?
I was 9.
So those first 9 years are still vivid in your memory.
Yes.
You know, when you hear the word Boisk, immediately Rav Kook comes to mind, the great Rav Kook.
I didn't know him.
But did you know about his shul? Did you ever go visit to the shul? Growing up, did you hear about him?
I didn't know anything about Rav Kook. He was there before a long time before I was born.
Mm-hmm. And did you ever go to his shul?
I didn't know even what his shul was.
Wow. Okay, so when you grew up in Boisk, do you remember the square, and do you remember how the town looked?
I remember the city square was a marketplace.
Yeah.
All the shops were around it.
And were most of the shops Jewish?
Most of the shops that I knew were Jewish.
And you went to school? You remember your school?
Yeah, we had a Hebrew medium school.
And what did you speak? What language did you speak to your parents?
I spoke Yiddish and Latvian.
You could, and at school, was it a Jewish school that you went to?
Government school.
And you had to speak Latvian?
It was a Hebrew medium school. We had a Latvian teacher to teach us Latvian.
And do you still remember some words in Latvian? Or?
A few words.
And in your school, did you have, it was a mixture, did you have non-Jewish kids, classmates?
Only had Jewish kids. It was a Hebrew medium.
A Hebrew medium. And your teachers, were they mainly Jewish, or it was mixed?
Mainly Jews. There was only one Latvian woman who was teaching Latvian.
Mm-hmm. And you remember her?
I remember her.
Okay. And growing up in your neighborhood where you stayed, did you have non-Jewish neighbors?
Yeah, we had non-Jewish neighbors.
And you all got on pretty well?
Yeah.
Okay, so what made your parents decide to leave Latvia?
My father left first because of financial reasons.
Was it difficult financially?
It was difficult for him financially because he was a Russian.
He wasn't actually born in Latvia?
No, he was born in Russia.
And your mum?
My mum was born in Boisk too.
Wow, okay, so you've got very deep roots in Boisk in Latvia. And your father, when he decided to leave, did he go by himself?
He went by himself.
And where did he go to?
He came to South Africa.
Wow. And how long was he in South Africa? I'm sure he was working financially, to enable him to bring out his family.
Yeah, he was working for an uncle of mine.
And you know how many years he was in South Africa before he brought out your mum?
5 years.
And in those 5 years, without having a father, was it, knowing that your father was abroad in South Africa, was it very difficult for you?
It wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy. And how did your mom, how did she handle it? How did she cope?
She had no option. She had to cope.
And did you have brothers and sisters, siblings?
I had one sister.
One sister. And okay, so you left when you were 9.
Yeah.
Do you remember your journey going to South Africa?
Yeah, I remember the boat.
Where did you leave from? Was it from Riga?
We left from think it was from Riga, I'm not sure.
And then,
No, I think we left from Belgium. First we went to Riga and then we went to Belgium.
okay.
We
And
left from England, we left from Southampton.
Southampton. Okay, so most probably from Riga to Southampton. And coming to South Africa, where did you land up in South Africa?
In Cape Town.
And did you live there for quite a while?
No, we stayed for 2 weeks, I think.
And then from where did you go?
And then we came to Sterkstroom,
Is that in the Transvaal area?
the Eastern Cape.
The Eastern Cape. And did you live there quite a while?
I stayed there until my mitzvah, I think. I think I had my bar mitzvah in Sterkstroom. Stayed there until I matriculated.
And then after there, where did you go?
After that, I came to Pretoria.
Victoria, wow, that's amazing. And let me ask, during these years, now you were already had matriculated and you were in Pretoria, did you hear what was going on during the Second World War, being in South Africa?
No, we knew what was going on.
Did you know?
Yeah.
Did you have family that was left behind in Latvia?
They were all killed in the show.
They were all killed. And growing up, how old were you during the time of the Shoah, the Holocaust?
Between 9 and 12. 4 years.
Couldn't be.
But Willie, you remember, you knew that terrible things were happening in Europe.
We knew.
And you must have felt it must have been so difficult for your parents, being defenseless, not being able to help them.
We knew we couldn't do anything.
Sure. And can I just ask, after you were in Pretoria, what happened then? Where did you go to university? Did you study?
No, I went to join the army.
The South African Army.
Yeah. And then when they saw that I wasn't born in South Africa, that I was they said I was an alien. They couldn't take me.
Oh, they didn't take you.
They sent me back. They gave me a ticket to go back home. He said to me, if you want to, we can take you as a guard of the Italian prisoners. I said, I don't want that job. I want to fight.
And this was the Second World War, obviously. And they wouldn't accept because you weren't born South African.
Because I wasn't. My father wasn't naturalized as a citizen, so naturally I wasn't a citizen. I was regarded as an enemy alien.
And then what did you do after that? Did you study?
I stayed in Pretoria with an aunt of mine.
Okay.
And she got me a job in the wholesale firm, which I worked for about a year. And then I got an apprenticeship with a pharmacist. And I went to college to study.
And what did you study?
I studied pharmacy.
Pharmacy. And you were a pharmacist?
Yeah.
And where did you live?
I lived with an aunt of mine
Victoria.
in Pretoria.
Wow. And then soon afterwards, did you get married?
As soon as I qualified, I got married.
And I'm going to introduce your wife.
Hi.
So how many years have you both been married?
Next March, the 21st, will be 70 years.
70 wonderful years. That is amazing. Sure. That is really quite incredible.
70 years.
Wow, that's wonderful. And you were born in South Africa.
In Johannesburg,
And your parents, where did they come from?
Lithuania.
Do you know where in Lithuania?
Different places. My father came from a place called Januskill, I don't know where that is. And my mother came, where did Papa come from?
She was born in Smilg,
Yeah, Milk.
and then later on she went to live in
I'm now going to be introducing Maish. This is Willie's son. And Maish is just going to mention to us the reason why Willie's father actually had to leave, I think, Latvia, and a miracle actually, how he left and why he left.
Well, I just know what my father told me.
Okay, so Maish, if you could tell our listeners out there, because
Did you ask my father why he left?
well, you'll mention. Okay.
From what I know, I mean, just from what my father said,
And Willie, you can
that
correct.
his father was appointed some position in a Jewish bank in the town. The reason that they appointed him was because he came from a family, in other words, my father's grandfather was quite a big macher in the town, and I think he was quite wealthy and he had businesses. He was an important figure in the town, so they thought, well,
And this is the town of Boisk.
this is the town of Boisk. He was already dead by the time. Was your grandmother still alive when your father left South Africa?
Yeah.
At least when he left Latvia, was your grandmother still alive?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I'm not so sure, Dad.
Sure, my grandmother was alive.
When your father was appointed in the bank, was your grandmother still alive?
Yeah.
Okay, could be. Anyway, the bank had problems financially and they all came to look for him. So he took his stuff and he ran away to South Africa. That was the story.
Was it a Jewish bank?
I think so. Was the Jewish bank there?
It was a bank they established in South Africa, in Boisk, they called it. They established their own bank and they made him a director, which he had no business to be.
So because he left, there was Taurus, difficulties, and he left to South Africa, that basically saved the family.
Correct.
Otherwise, they would have, God forbid, remained
Yeah.
in
This
Boisk.
is an example of when you think you've got Soros, it's actually good for you.
So, I'll just mention to us all, when Lucy and I were in Lithuania, in Latvia, and especially Mariupol, so there were some people that were sent to Siberia because they were dissidents and they thought it was the end of the world. And because they were sent to Siberia, they survived.
Just for example, I can tell you that all the boys my father's age, when the Germans came to Boisk, they took them all, they first castrated them, and a week or two later they murdered them.
And was this the Latvians or the Germans? Maybe both.
Both, I don't know.
Yeah, it was. There were a lot of collaborators, and let me ask hearing your story and just hearing, amazing that your father went to South Africa and that's how the family survived. Was it a Zionistic family growing up in Latvia?
Yes.
Very Zionistic. And you fulfilled that dream, both of you. When did you come to Israel?
At end of 2002.
So you've been here for 15 years,
Yeah.
Ken and Hora. Wow. And you're here with your family, your dear family in Efrat.
Ken and Nora. But
And
I've got
it's-
family in South Africa, so it's difficult. We got a son there.
Okay. And it's been a tremendous honor and a privilege to speak to you and to hear your wonderful story, although it's a very sad story, but it's a miraculous story. And thank God, thank God your father did leave and survived, and
we here,
we here, and your family's here, Ken and Hora, and your
great grandchildren. Yeah.
and your son davened in shul. It was phenomenal.
Beautiful.
It was magnificent. So your parents and your family can be so proud of, and they are proud. Not only can they be proud, they are proud.
Very proud.
Well, they are proud, and they, they see today on Yom Kippur to have a son davening for the kihila so beautifully and so moving, and it inspired us all.
Very proud of him.
Well, we are all proud of you. And we just want to show the picture of your wedding, which was...
Your mother was from Pushalat, no?
Yeah.
Pushalat.
Wow.
Afterwards.
And here is the picture of your wedding, which is nearly 70 years ago. And where were you married?
In Johannesburg.
Do you remember the shul?
Yes, Jeppy.
Jeppy Shul, wow. So beautiful. So this is nearly Canon Horace 70-year anniversary. So you must, our bracha is that you should just have mazel, bracha, and all of Hashem's blessings, and
Thank
to have
you so
nachas from your family, your dear family, and It's such an honor and a privilege to have spoken to you both, and just be well, gesund, and a Shana Tova,
Yeah.
and
Thank
just
you
mazel
very
and
much,
brocha.
and Shana Tova to
Thank
you,
you very much.
and thank you for caring.
It's a greatest honor and a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.